What's going on, guys? Welcome back to this video. Today's video will be again on TryHackMe. We're gonna do hack the box and over the wire in the next upcoming videos, but today I was compelled to do this video because there was a new track released in TryHackMe named Security Engineer. Now let's examine that new track and see what it contains. As you can see, first we have around 5 modules. In the first module we have an introduction to security engineering. And then we have threats and risks, network and security, system security. As you can see, some rooms are marked as completed because I have, done these rooms individually before. And we have software security. So as you can see, guys, around 70% of the track is completely brand new. The rooms completely brand new here. So make sure to check this out. And as a starter, I'm gonna today do the security engineering introduction. We're gonna take a look at what a security engineer does, okay, during their day-to-day life as a security engineer, and we're gonna again demonstrate what kind of responsibilities and what that kind of tasks that are assigned to a security engineer. So this is the room here, and there is one task that you have to complete, which is actually kind of a walkthrough task. The other tasks, let's go over the questions of the other tasks. Before we go over the question, let's first understand what is a security engineer. So security engineer, guys, is a role that belongs to the defensive side of cyber security. So we search for security, let's search for engineer. Let's see, yeah. So beside a SOC analyst, we have the security engineer. A SOC analyst, as you know, guys, is different from security engineer. The SOC analyst is a dedicated role to security monitoring and event management. Now, for security engineer, it is kind of a broader role than being a SOC analyst. So basically, as security engineer, the first thing you are responsible is the overall security of an organization. So mainly, a security engineer will be part of the information security department. They will be responsible for crafting security policies. The first thing a security engineer does is understanding what kind of assets that the company or the organization has. The assets could be IT assets or could be physical assets. So mainly you are responsible for the IT assets. It could be servers, routers, switches, network area storages, hardwares, computers, endpoints, so on and so forth. All of these are digital assets. So you have to maintain an inventory of what kind of digital assets the organization has. And then you're gonna, after creating the inventory, you're gonna ensure that all of these IT assets are safe. And here we come to the next responsibility here. It ensures that organization's cyber security risk is minimized. So basically, with these digital assets have varying degrees of risks. You're gonna have to also participate in risk assessments with the risk management teams. You're gonna have also to tell the risk management team and guide them about the security risks that surround these digital assets, the likelihood of happening, the probability of happening, and the impact it has. And then you're gonna have to recommend security controls to at least mitigate the risks, because not all the time you can get rid of the risk. Sometimes you have to only mitigate the risk, bring it to an acceptable level, a level that the organization can afford if a threat happens. Devises strategies and creates systems that minimize the risk posed by cybersecurity threats to organization. And we talked about this. So basically, risk management is part of your job as a security engineer, beside asset inventory, so far and so forth. Periodically conducts tests to ensure that the robustness of the cyber security posture of an organization, identifies weakness points, and prepares mitigation. This means, guys, also as a security engineer, you participate in vulnerability assessments or security assessments. So You might be participating in vulnerability scanning, or you might also participate in penetration tests. So you are not a penetration tester as a security engineer, but maybe you might be required to provide support to the process. Develops and maintains secure network solutions with architecture and secure systems. So here you can also devise strategies so that when systems are designed and built, it is built and designed using secure methods. And here an example of that is the software development lifecycle. You can ensure that it follows security practices. An example of security architecture or the security by design, guys, is when you create or when you develop a program or a product and then put it into production, you have to follow the secure development lifecycle, right? So applying security to that becomes secure software development lifecycle. You apply security practices and security controls from the start. Collaborates and coordinates with other teams to establish security protocols across the organization. So as a security engineer, guys, these are the roles. They are kind of hybrid, you know. So you participate in risk management, you participate in vulnerability management, you participate in asset inventory, you create information security policies and controls with the information security department. It's a very broad role. Now the required qualifications. So here, as you can see, guys, 0 to 2 years of experience with IT. That's normal because you have to understand networks, operating systems, administration. A bit of programming is preferred. Basic understanding of computer networks, programming, basic understanding of security concepts, governance, risk, and compliance. And here I come to the point I mentioned earlier. You will participate in risk management and compliance auditing. You will participate. You're not going to lead the process. So that's why you're going to have basic understanding of what is data governance, what is risk management, what are the security frameworks, the information security frameworks that organizations follow to be in compliance with the regulatory standards. So an example of data governance is, let's see, governance. So here in my document, I put some notes about data governance, which is the process of governing data, making sure the data is well governed regarding its retention, its transfer, and its storage. So I talked about all of that. This document is actually a broad document. It's career notes in cybersecurity, management notes, and operational notes. You can get access to this document by subscribing to channel membership. All right. So now let's go over let's give it a quick look here. So who ensures that an organization cybersecurity risk is minimized? The security engineer. And here the responsibilities. What are details about an organization's digital assets, such as name, IP address, and owner stored? It's stored in the asset inventory, as we mentioned. Sometimes security policies cannot be followed because of business needs. That's true. What avenue does a security engineer have to fulfill business needs in these cases? So you have to create exceptions and get them approved before you decide that you're not going to follow a security policy. What philosophy, if followed, provides the most return on investment is secure by design. And here we talked about the process of secure software development lifecycle. Yeah, they have a room on this here. Maybe we're going to do it one day. Continuous improvement. What is considered the weakest link in an organization's security? Humans. Why humans? Because let me tell you guys, statistics say that more than 50% of cyber attacks are caused by human error or a human fault. So mistake. So basically, phishing attacks form about more than 60% of cyber attacks. Phishing attacks happen. Phishing attacks succeed because someone clicks on an email from an unknown source and they trust the content. They click on the link. They they fill in their credentials mindlessly, and the attacker receives them on the other end. That's why humans are the weakest link. And organizations, security evolves with the organization. What helps a security engineer keep the organization secure through these changes? Change management. Now, change management is a process of keeping track of the changes that occur to your digital assets. Okay, so for example, if you have updated your operating system, if you have created a new feature for your product, these are changes that happen to your digital assets. You have to make sure that the changes is taken into consideration, and you have to make sure that risks are all accounted for before moving on to the new state of the product. Okay, tabletop, and let's go on to the task view site. So this site shows an email client showing the inbox of a security engineer. The inbox has several unread emails. Each unread email will be one of the tasks that a security engineer has to perform. So now you have you put yourself in the shoes of a security engineer. You open your email and you see these you see it in your inbox. So as you can see, we have this email: audit observations. The sender is an external editor, and here, hi, external editor performed an audit of XYZ Incorporation. Please find attached some observed non-compliances for your perusal. Non-compliances, it's not compulsory to follow them. So attachment, please read the audit non-compliance report and select one of the available mitigation options to mitigate the non-compliances according to the information. Please keep the easy of use, easy of implementation, cost, and improvement in security posture while selecting the answer. So, as a security engineer, guys, when you participate or when you receive an audit report from an audit committee, you have to recommend solutions to the risks that have been spotted or identified. The solutions that you recommend as security engineer have to be usable, as you can see. Easy of use, easy of implementation, cost, and improvement in security posture. So, because there could be many solutions, or there could be many mitigations to a one given risk, you have to select the best one for the business. You receive the report from the audit committee, and now these are the observations. Observation 1, the requirements. All assets of XYZ Incorporation should have the latest operating system security updates and installed. So basically, they concluded as a result of the auditing that you have some systems or some operating systems or some endpoints with operating systems that are kind of outdated and need to be updated. So that's the requirement. They recommend you to update them. The observation, though most systems had the latest OS security updates, some legacy systems that supported XYZ Incorporation's older hardware did not have the latest security updates. The comments, these systems are older, and installing security updates on them might break the functionality of these systems. So your IT teams is telling you, oh look, we have some production programs installed on these servers or these systems. If we update the Windows or the OS, there will be incompatibilities or some kind of conflict with the new version of the operating system. So this will break the current production programs that we are using. So what we're going to do here, we cannot update. And the security department telling you, look, we have to update because updates are very important to the security posture of your organization. So what we're going to do here, here we have 4 options. Keep as it is. Of course not. We have a risk here. The risk is out of some computers or some systems are out of date. We cannot accept this risk. Accepting the risk is keeping it as is. That's what accepting the risk means. We have to mitigate the risk. We cannot cancel the risk altogether because, as the IT team is telling you, this will break the functionality of the programs. So business is first, and security engineer, your concerns should be around securing the systems, but not to break business operations, because security is for, at the end, it should falls under the objectives of the business. So you have to take this into consideration. And install security updates. Also, it's not an option, because installing the updates will satisfy the security requirements, but will make your business suffer. So we don't want that. So we have two options here. Rebuild the legacy servers so that they don't break with security updates. That is that's a solution that can work, but it will take time, and it might not be easy to deploy. So we can have to cancel this as well. We are left with this: restrict accessibility of the servers to only required users, meaning we apply extra hardening, like we apply firewall rules to make sure only desired packets are passing through the server, right? So if we do that on the end of the firewalls, we leave the system unchanged. Okay, we haven't applied updates, but we have also taken some measures to minimize or mitigate the risk. So that's the solution that works most of the time. Okay, the other observation too: all the network communication, user activity, and security device logs shall be aggregated in a single platform and monitored continuously. That's true. So the auditing is telling you have to use a SIEM solution to examine the logs from a central place, so that your SOC team can have an effective workflow. The observation: XYZ has some assets in the cloud and others on premises. It was observed that the cloud assets were not integrated with the SIEM, which is present on premises. So the SIEM solution, it could be Splunk, it could be IBM QRadar, whatever. So it is deployed on premises, okay, in the organization's network. They saw that, or they noted that the cloud assets are not integrated with the SIEM. It means that the cloud assets, they generate logs, and the logs are not sent to the SIEM for examination. So they ask you here to aggregate all logs in a central place. So what are the comments from the organization? The logs from the cloud are not integrated with the SIEM. Why? Because this will require enabling internet access to the SIEM, which is not desirable. That's true. So if we collect the logs and send them from the cloud to the SIEM here, we're going to have to open some sort of channel so that we expose the SIEM to the internet, which is not desirable. It will expose the SIEM to various risks. So yet we are here. It's not. By the way, sending the logs from the cloud to SIEM, it is not. It doesn't have to do with risk management. It is just a way to make examining logs and monitoring events more efficient. But here, if you expose the SIEM, you will have a risk. So we're not going to do it. What are the solutions here as a security engineer? What are you going to recommend the team? Keep as it is? Nope. Rebuild the applications on the cloud to on-prem or vice versa. A workable solution, but also requires time and might not be easy to use. Forward the cloud logs to SIEM regardless of concerns. No. Aggregate cloud logs in a single place. Okay. Forward the logs from that place to on-prem network using a restricted tunnel. So here we don't expose the SIEM, and yet we can forward the logs from the cloud to the SIEM. That's a solution that stands in the middle, so we're going to select it. Okay, so we examined the audit observations. Let's now examine the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing reports. External pen test vendor performed VAPT of XYZ external facing infrastructure. Please find attached report for the VAPT activity. Okay, so that's the vulnerability report they sent you so that you recommend actions. The vulnerability one, the asset name, it affected the Oracle backend database server, and this is the CVE number. description: vulnerability in the MySQL server product of Oracle MySQL. Supported versions that are affected are 5, 7, and 37. And a prior, easily exploitable vulnerability, allows a high privilege attacker with network access via multiple protocols to compromise MySQL server. Successful attacks of this vulnerability can result in unauthorized ability to cause a hang or a frequently repeatable crash. So it will disrupt business operations if exploited successfully. Recommended solutions: upgrade to the latest version of Oracle MySQL. Download and upgrade from this. What do you recommend as a security engineer? Keep as it is? No. Restrict the accessibility of the server only through VPN, which means we're gonna accept that there is a vulnerability. Okay, we're gonna accept the fact that it is still vulnerable, but we are still concerned that this might affect the business operations by creating conflicts with other programs and other operating systems, as we saw in the previous notes. So we're gonna just restrict the accessibility, meaning we're gonna allow only people who access the company's network through a VPN to access the server. Hence, we apply some sort of hardening, risk mitigation. So the solution here is to follow the same concept we followed in the previous update. So we didn't update the MySQL server, we just applied a restriction. Same here for the client portal. We're gonna ask clients to connect to a VPN in order to use the servers. We're gonna have to restrict as well. Alright, now we have the third vulnerability, which is the latest one. It affects the website of the corporate, and this is the product Apache use of uninitialized value. Description: a carefully crafted request body can cause a read to a random memory area, which could cause the process to crash. Could be denial of service. This issue affects Apache server 2452 and earlier. Recommended solutions again is to upgrade, as you can see here. There is a note here: many platforms and distributions provide people. Okay, so what we're gonna do here? So this issue affects the corporate website, and you're gonna have either to update, okay, or to accept the risk. There is no way to restrict accessibility here because it's still a website. You cannot tell people to connect to a VPN in order to access your website. So we cannot restrict it. It's not usable to restrict the accessibility here. It's gonna have either to keep as it is or rebuild or patch. Now, keep as it is accepting the risk, meaning opening the way for many chances to the attacker to exploit. Patch and rebuild. Since this is a website, so patching the web server is not supposed to create conflicts. So we're gonna patch, and it is correct. So that is the flag for this task. So that's a nutshell or a simple example on what is security engineering. So you have here awards, click to reveal. Let's see what we have. TryHackMe baseball cap, €5 swag voucher. Okay, fine. Alright guys, so this is security engineering in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed the video, and in the next upcoming video guys, we're going to enroll in this track and do all of the tasks as we usually do. So that was it. I will see you in the next video.